Okay.
But there's a rumor that there's this intimidating toothbrush that's been terrorizing people. And so,
Listen, Linda.
Have you been ran out of your
honey,
home?
listen.
Have you been ran out of your home because of an electric toothbrush or something?
I really did think I was praying over my family. I was praying that we would not have a bomb go off in our home. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
No,
I don't even know.
Do you want me to tell you guys what happened?
I'm afraid to hear this.
I'm afraid.
So it was a Monday morning a week ago, and I sleep really hard on Sunday nights because Sunday's a really, really big day for ministry, for worship leading and stuff. And so like I was out and I was awoken from a dead sleep by a terrible noise. And it sounded
Sounds like a Christmas story.
That's what I was thinking.
And what was a clatter?
Listen, it sounded like someone was sawing through my wall and there was water, like a waterfall. And I called Justin, I put it on speakerphone and I said, babe, this is not good. Like something really, really bad has happened. He's like, I'm just now pulling into the plant. And I'm like, it's really bad. And he goes, okay, I'm pulling away from the plant. and he came home and for 25 minutes, that's how long it takes him. I prayed and I called him again. I said, do I need to take the kids for safety? I got the dogs out of our room because I thought that my room was going to blow up and we were all going to die. I was really, really scared. And he came home and
and what was it, Lindsay? What was it?
He opens the shower door and he said, babe, looks like my toothbrush fell off the ledge and somehow got turned on. Turned the toothbrush off. And we were saved. My hero.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm a little bit shocked. So can I speak on behalf of the audience?
Please.
Here's what everybody, y'all feel free to chime in and tell everybody that you're agreeing with me here.
Yes.
So I learned a lot about you already. So here's the question.
Okay.
You know, there are on this planet, when something happens, there are a million possibilities.
Yes.
You went straight to the house is going to blow up.
I went straight to the Lord in prayer.
Well, that
for
was
my house.
After your house is going to blow up. I mean, why couldn't it have been that there is a mole who is bore into your house?
Listen, when I was like in
How about,
middle, when I was in
tiny
middle
little-
school, our water
It was
heater
an Al Qaeda
exploded.
mole. It was
okay?
going to blow up, okay?
Our water heater exploded when I was in middle school in the bathroom right next to my room. And so I thought, it's happening again. And
Well,
there's
now,
going to be fire
that's
and
at least more realistic
water
than a bomb.
everywhere. I thought
I
it
can
was
see
over.
that.
I almost called my neighbors. I was like, do I need to call?
It was over.
Oh, my
Listen.
word.
I just want to know, why was there like a lack of investigation?
I went in
Because I
there.
feel like Justin got there and within 5 minutes he was like, yeah, it's a toothbrush.
That's
It was
another
within
great
like 30
question.
seconds.
Yeah.
But I went in the bathroom
I mean,
and
you're
I
dead
couldn't
anyway.
find the sound.
Why not at least go
walked
see
all
why you're gonna
over.
die?
I don't think due diligence was there.
No, I'm going to die.
Listen.
That's what's determined.
I have
at least
never
want to see why I'm gonna die.
proclaimed to have excellent technical skills. I've never
It's not technical skills.
Nah.
It's opening the shower. Like,
Well, I
I'm
thought
pretty
the
sure a
shower was
3-year-old
going to
could
blow me
turn
up.
that off.
So I
don't know
did
how
not
the door
open the
works.
shower
The
because I
thing
didn't want
about
to die.
this business, guys, is once you have these tools and stuff in place, you can sit in your underwear in your office and have fun and act a fool and make as much as you want, because that's what these tools do.
We are not wearing our underwear, by the way.
Oh, I'm definitely
I'm wearing underwear.
I mean, we're not wearing.
Lindsay, please
You
speak
guys
for
speak
yourself.
Do not.
I decided
We're
to wear
not
it.
wearing just our underwear.
Oh, okay.
That is different.
That's different.
That is a completely different
That is
statement.
completely different stuff.
Those are different words.
Going
Yeah, it's like,
here?
why? I mean, talking about toothbrushes and then
I'm telling you.
I don't know where she.
What has happened to this
I don't-
program?
She's hijacked it. It used to be a nice Christian show.
Yes, and you know that
Christian-
guy who come up to you and he
Justin,
says,
come
"Hey,
get
can we
Lindsay."
just get through the weird stuff to the business?"
Yeah.
Now we know why.
Now we know what he's talking about. Now we know. You know, it all started with the CBD comment, and
I
ever
just
since
meant we weren't like
then, we.
inappropriate off camera. That's all I meant.
Yes.
Yes. No one's.
Oh, we're definitely inappropriate off the camera too, but that's a whole nother story.
we leave the inappropriateness to when we're on the camera. Any other questions?
Yeah,
The
we
whole
had
thing is, I have not in my heart. Like
Listen,
That's
let's-
offensive. She's got in my heart.
she's starting to feel guilty.
no, I'm telling you, I thought that toothbrush was going to set my house on fire.
I am sending a text message to your pastor and asking him,
Yeah.
please do not listen to this episode.
Episode 394.
It was innocent.
It was innocent.
I really did think that my house was going to explode and I need to protect my children and my dogs. And like, I was trying to figure out a plan for safety.
The worst comment and
Worst comment
ever made, and one that still leaves us all asking, why is there an electric toothbrush in the shower?
Thank you for listening to our show today.
A blog will help you do that. Number 6, a blog will help you tell your story. And I want to tell you, nothing sells better. Nothing you do. There is nothing you can do or say that is going to do better for you than telling your story. Your story has more power and more potential for you to turn a profit, to grow your platform, to be able to widen your footprint, to have more impact, to be able to reach more people in a much more deeper and meaningful way that builds that rapport that you so desperately need and want for your business. Nothing will do that better than telling your story. Everybody's got one. I like what Eric Thomas said one time. He says, I might not have been through what you've been through, but I've been through my go through. And telling people what you've had to go through helps them understand, okay, this is a real person. It encourages them. What is encouraging people? It's literally taking courage and putting it on the inside of them. When I tell my story of how it was just in 2008, I was broke, busted, and disgusted. I was just steps away from being homeless. Our house was being foreclosed on. We were literally days away from get out of the house, a house that we had lived in my whole life. I was raised there, been in my family for years. It was the old family farm. My great-grandparents met at a barn dance on that piece of property. Telling that story and finding myself in a food bank looking for benevolence to feed a family of five children and a wife, actually a family of 7. Telling that story informs people that, hey, I don't know where you're at, but I've had my own thing. I get struggle. And it also lets them understand why I'm so passionate about what I do. Because the very training, the tools, the technology that I use today is how I, just in a short period of just a decade, have gone from the outhouse back to the penthouse. But more than the softwares, the systems.
Why is it that people don't want to grow? Why is it that they just settle for being less than what they are capable of being? Why is it they shy away from doing their stuff and challenging themselves and taking life on and making it an exciting adventure? Why is it? Because living your dream, it's hard, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard living your dream. We are in charge of our attitudes. And when you're in charge of your attitude, you say, if it's hard, then do it hard. I won't allow this to stop me. I don't have the option of easy. I don't have the option. And I don't think you do, or any of us do, of going around trying to find a dream that's a little dream that doesn't require much responsibility or not too stressful or won't be too much of a hassle. No. I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. An optimist sees an opportunity in every calamity. A pessimist sees a calamity in every opportunity. What can make it okay? Your attitude about it. That you decide that this is not going to determine who I am. Charles Swindoll said about attitude, he said, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact attitude has on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures and successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearances, giftedness, or skill. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play the one string we have, and that is our attitude.
If there's anything in life that you don't currently have right now, it's because of who you are and how you think. I know you're strong enough to do it because you're human. And every human has what it takes to get past whatever they're going through if they decide to. Push through it. Push through it. Tragedy and trials come to everybody. Only the strong survive. Y'all running from pain. Y'all running from challenges. You telling me how difficult your life is. Do you understand it is the difficulty that's going to prepare you and take you to that next level? I'm here just like you here, and I promise you, I ain't leaving without the degree. I will not leave without that goal. I will not leave without that dream. I will not leave this university until I'm successful. I will not leave this job. I will not leave this client. I will not leave this opportunity until I get it.
You're listening to TW3 Radio, inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music for the entrepreneur and small business owner. Inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music. You're listening to TW3 Radio.
How could a man hit a target he could not see? That's a pretty good question. Here's another one. How can you hit a target you do not have? Besides, planes are built for flying. Ships are built for sailing. Houses are built for living. And man, too, was built for purpose. He was designed for accomplishment. He's engineered for success. He's endowed with the seeds of greatness. And the greatest danger we as human beings have is when we do not do anything at all. People today complain of lack of time. It's not lack of time that's the problem. It's the lack of direction. Are you a wandering generality? Or are you a meaningful specific? Are you going to work tomorrow because that's what you did yesterday? If that's the reason you're going tomorrow, you won't be as good tomorrow as you were yesterday because you're 2 days older and no closer to the goal you do not have. What about you personally? Have you got your goals laid out? Are you a meaningful specific, or are you a wandering generality?
See, you are part of an equation, and you are needed. Part of why we should begin to look at how we give up our lives, that we've got to begin to see, what is it that I'm supposed to do? What is my life work? And then give ourselves to that. Because as we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you, as you begin to take on this new era that we're in, if you decide that I'm going to begin to start living life, I'm going to start giving more of myself, I'm going to start putting out more, contributing more to life. Here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I guarantee you that life will take on a whole new meaning for you. I guarantee you that life takes on a whole new dimension. That you'll be happier, you have a greater sense of happiness and fulfillment in life, that now you will begin to take off on some new paths to some newer horizons. That you'll begin to see life totally different than most people.
You got to have those long-range goals. And the rule is a simple one. You go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll always be able to see further. Are you a wandering generality? Or are you a meaningful specific?
And most of us go through life because we're not using that which we've been given, that we are punished, that we're going through life getting up in the morning with no reason to get up. There's a scripture, when I heard it, I couldn't understand it. I say, how cold? He that hath shall get, and he that hath not, even that he has shall be taken away. He that hath a generous view of life, he that has courage, he that hath initiative, he that hath resourcefulness.
I say it with all of my heart. I know in my mind that man was designed for accomplishment, that he's engineered for success, that he is endowed with the seeds of greatness.
You're listening to TW3 Radio, inspiring, informative, and entertaining talk and music for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
Welcome to TerryWilson3.com, home of TW3, the most powerful marketing tools, training, and technology on planet Earth. Get ready to earn, enjoy, and experience more than you ever dreamed was possible. If you're tired of just getting by and ready to really thrive, then buckle in and listen up. Here's your host, Terry Wilson.
I can't trust you to be funny enough, so I have to write your own jokes for you.
How are you going to feel, though, when I go off the script and I don't know.
You do not go off script.
I'm more freeform than
you
this.
Stay right there, my friend. Welcome to episode 453, where we are talking about how to better present and persuade tonight. You could be sitting on $1 million idea right now. You could be holding the very solution that your community, colleagues, and company needs to improve and solve their current challenges. However, without the ability to present your ideas and persuade others, the idea will not turn into action, which for the entrepreneur, business leader, coach, or consultant won't turn into value. And value is the only justifiable means in which payment can be expected. So needless to say, this is going to be a great show, guys. I'm telling you, we've got an all-star lineup tonight. I'm power-packed with an all-star lineup to bring you in order to deliver this incredible content to you. First, I've got Miller Time enjoying the high life down there in Florida. Is that how the kids pronounce it nowadays? Florida. Miller Time is an elite trainer here at TW3. Been with us a while, who hosts a show every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. on tw3radio.com. He's been in finance, business, coaching, consulting for years, and we're lucky to have him and can't wait to introduce him to you in just a moment. And then second, after Miller Time, if that wasn't enough, guys, if that wasn't enough, I'm telling you, they are getting 2 shows for the price of one tonight. 2 shows for the price of one.
You double down.
It's BOGO night. Buy one, get one. I'm telling you, baby, it is all. Secondly, we got the truth teller, Neil O'Reilly. If you've suffered from truth decay, then let me recommend some mental floss from the truth teller himself, Neil O'Reilly, a former assistant district attorney there in New York City, and he'll be giving his insights and stories of how he persuaded criminals, courts, colleagues, and community to see things his way. So we got him coming up right after Miller Time. So I'm telling you, we're just like punch, punch, pow. So that's what we got going on tonight.
Yeah, awesome. We normally do a Q&A section at the end of our segment 3-ish, but because we've got so much content tonight, we're actually not going to be doing the Q&A portion. We do apologize about that, but it's just so we can get you more content a little bit quicker here. If you do have questions, though, we typically have some members that are kind enough to sort of help us out, and they answer your live questions as they come in. And then if you're seeing this after the podcast airs, feel free to still leave a comment or a question, and we'd love to help you out, in the future.
If you like tonight's podcast, then please hit the like button, subscribe, share, and join us. Also, big announcement, the audiobook of You're Worth More is being completed, and the first 2 chapters are completely free when you go to coachwithtw3.com and join for the free as a Patreon. Dad has more info on that.
Yes.
They're getting 2 free chapters?
They're getting 2
free chapters.
Free chapters.
Is that because you didn't have enough faith in the first chapter to hook them in, or
that's pretty much it? I mean, no, I'm excited, guys. And I was talking to Miller Time before we got on here. TW3 has been a godsend to us. I pinch myself every morning that I am lucky enough to sit in a room with my children, make friends all over the world with people like Chris Miller. And it's just a wonderful community. It's a wonderful life that we have been afforded by the grace of God. And I don't say that lightly. I'm just very thankful. But it's always been in the context of business. And sometimes, as you guys know, I have a passion and I have a heart for encouraging people, inspiring people, helping people emotionally, spiritually, in all of those areas. And the reason I feel that way is because I've been a recipient of that kind of content in training and coaching. And I would come here sometimes on this podcast and in the training at TW3, and I'd be like, okay, tonight we're going to talk about, and I was trying to infuse a lot of mindset coaching and training into my business content. And sometimes it just, I felt it. People's like, I want to know how to generate a lead. I don't give a rip about, I want to know more about business. And so, there's always this dance I've been trying to do. And I was like, I just really feel like this is the time I'm called. And through the encouragement of several people, they said, Terry, just start another platform. And all it is mindset. That way, if you're not in business, you could be just a mom at home trying to figure out how can I communicate and connect better with my children. You could be just a guy. You don't have to be in business. And you said, how do I find a way to find more meaning and happiness and fulfillment in life? So we started coachwithtw3.com. And if you go over there, it's free to join as a patron, totally free. And when you join, you get the first 2 chapters of my book for free. And if you want to become a subscribe paying member, you're thinking, okay, here it comes. Here's the bomb. What's it going to be? 10, 20, 30,000, $5. You can become a patron for $5.
It's pretty good.
You get the entire audio book of You Are Worth More. And you get once a week training and coaching on mindset and mindset only. Sometimes it will be in business. Sometimes it will be spiritual matters. Sometimes it will be psychological matters. Sometimes it will be, whatever. Because as human beings, we all experience life. And so that's what tw3coaching.com is all about. I've got some members over at terrywilson3.com that are TW3 members, elite members, trainers, and plus members and trainers. And so I'm still going to do some mindset over there as it informs business, leadership development, team building, coaching, those kinds of things. But it's always going to be in the context of business there. So I'm just excited about that and want to be able to offer that. But enough about that. We are excited tonight because we've got the man, the legend, the way of life, Miller Time. How are you doing, Chris Miller?
How's everybody doing?
Well, we're better now that you're here. Chris, I've been listening.
Happy belated Valentine's Day. I'm wearing my red for y'all.
Oh, he's being too kind to us. Are you flirting with us?
I love you guys, man. I love everything about this company and this group. We're such an amazing group, and I learn so much here all the time. So, I got a lot of love right here for you guys. So.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, flattery will get you everywhere. So you just
No, I was bummed because it's one of the things I look forward to, seeing some of the members that we interact with a lot. So Gary, Chris, Lori, and there's a lot of members. But every year we have our conference, and it's kind of a time that I get to see them in person, just kind of, around
catch up. Yeah.
And then, COVID hits. But I was like, that was one of the first things I thought of. I was like, I'm not going to get to see, Chris this year. Because last year we had the open bar thing where everybody was able to kind of meet and greet. And I really enjoyed that. So it was kind of a bummer I didn't get to.
Yeah, it was a cool experience for sure.
It was fun.
Well, knock on wood, we hope to have the You Are Worth More conference in September.
That'd be awesome.
So we're not overly promoting it just because we're just trying to keep our ears.
You never know.
Because you just don't know. If 2020 hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us,
stop making plans.
Stop. Oh, you got a plan? Watch this.
Yeah, for real though.
It's funny. I'm making plans all the time. You're like, stop making plans.
Well, I'm telling you, when you have to put thousands of dollars down on rental of property and some of it's non-refundable, you're just like, okay, burn me once, shame on me, but burn me twice,
Can't get fooled again.
It was the George Bushes.
Can't get fooled again.
Yeah. So, Chris, you came to the conference and just rocked it out and then walked away and had a little bit of success after that, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done great since then. And it's mainly because, like you said, you just have to go and you got to keep your ears open and pay attention. And, I'm a fly on the wall and I sit there and I listen to everything. And, I come to some of these meetings and I don't say anything in the chats or whatever. But then other meetings I do. And sometimes I feel like I say too much in the chats, but I don't know.
No, never.
But I learn a lot every time that we get together and we go through things. And, I just take notes and write things down and pick up on things. And I know Gary and I both do this where we'll hear a book or something, and before you know it, we've ordered it.
I know.
You ought to be constantly growing, you know.
You do. I mean, and what a great life in the fact that when was it? This became a thought in my head, I guess, when I was working for a family selling music equipment. My first sort of sales job that wasn't out on my own. Right out of high school, I got hired by a local music company to be their keyboard and piano and band guy. And that's sort of how I got started in the whole music world. And I guess the 6 months, a year in, and I'm ashamed to say this because I got recruited right out in high school into direct sales, but it didn't occur to me. And all that stuff I was studying with Zig Ziglar and all that Earl Nightingale stuff and, you know, some of that old school stuff that we've all, you know, paid attention to, Think and Grow Rich and all of those great. And what was Steve Covey's The 7 Habits of, what was the Steve Covey book that was real popular too? But
Successful People.
Yeah, 7 Habits of Successful People. But I get
that in here somewhere, actually.
It occurred to me about a year in, I'm actually getting paid to become better. The better I become, the better I'm paid. And it's just like this perpetual, you know, get to feel better, get happier, become a better person, and make more and more. I mean, it's just like this. When did that occur to you? That it was just like all of a sudden, it's like you throw gasoline on this fire and all of a sudden you want to throw more.
You know, like for me, I've always kind of done that kind of thinking. So like even back in the old days when I was selling Kirby's, I would always invest in myself and things like that. And I would look at it from the mindset of not what it was costing me, but how many more sales I'd have to make, you know? So like, it's like, oh, well, you want to go to this seminar and, you know, like I would go to a Tom Hopkins seminar and it would cost like, you know, $1,200, which was quite a lot of money back in the early 90s.
Sure.
And I would say, well, you know, it's just 2 Kirby's, you know.
I swear you are like every other sales. I mean, I'm the same way. That's salesman math. How many rainbows, how many pots and pans, how many, you know, do I have to sell to do this? And then that was the goal. Okay, tomorrow, by this time tomorrow, I'm going to have this many sales done so I can do this. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, you've got a training coming up tonight that you're going to be doing in segment 2, talking about how to better be a presenter in presentation. How important is being a good presenter, and how has that served you in your career?
Well, in today's world, it's literally everything. You know, if you don't have the right message and you can't bring the message across in the correct way that people are going to resonate with it, you're literally nowhere. You know what I mean? It's a quick way to get yourself out of business.
Yeah, you know? For real.
and you know, we do it. So many people are always online now. I mean, like I alluded to it in a podcast that I did recently where I said, you know, when the world changed last year, you know, how did you adapt to it? And let's take, for example, the guys in door to door, like we were just talking about when I was selling Kirby's.
Yeah.
How do those guys adapt? You know what I mean? If your whole life is door to door, and suddenly you can't go talk to anybody and get within 6 feet of them. You know, you got to make some drastic changes in the way that you're presenting yourselves, you know. So knowing how to do that is kind of important.
Absolutely. Well, how fortunate were we to be in a position that 2020 just sort of brought more people to us, because they were saying, hey, how have y'all been doing this where you don't have to go out door to door? You don't have to do that cold calling, but they're coming to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're very lucky.
Very lucky in that. Well, you've got a special show coming up tomorrow night. This is airing on the 15th of February.
Leader Tree.
Yeah, and on tomorrow night, Chris hosts the show every Tuesday at 6 p.m. called The Leader Tree on tw3radio.com. And tell us what we're going to hear tomorrow as we tune into The Leader Tree.
Oh, no. You have to tune in for that.
You can't even tell us a little bit. You can't give us a commercial, a highlight.
I will tell you that tomorrow's show is probably, if you haven't heard any of them before, this is definitely the one to listen to. If you've heard them before, this is one you don't want to miss. This is a very special episode that I've done, and I'm actually interviewing another TW3 member, and
cool.
she's a fantastic lady. And her history and her background and her drive and determination, where she wants to go. And she has so many insights to share in this little 30-minute segment that we're together. It's just going to blow your mind.
That is
but
awesome.
I'm not going to tell you nothing.
But I say nothing. You got to tune in. Well, that's tomorrow night, which is if you're watching this podcast later or listening to this podcast later, you can go over to tw3radio.com. Chris Miller has a radio program there every Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then if you miss it, if you're hearing this and it's already aired, you can connect with Chris where?
At theleadertree.com.
At theleadertree.com, and I'm sure he has the recordings of previous shows. If you missed it when it aired live, you can go and check the recordings out there later. So when we get back right after this, Chris is going to be going in to how to better present right after this. Chapter 1. The 4 words that changed everything. Another day, another dollar. I just clocked in and was super excited. I finally felt like an adult. For the first time in my life, I was working for someone that wasn't a family member.
Hi, I'm Haven, and Terry Wilson's my dad. And the reason why I think I like this is it teaches me not only to earn money and work when I get older, how to earn it. It also teaches me how my dad used to live in the past, what he did, what was his first job, the reason why he came into this podcast sphere. So that's why I think I like his podcast and this audiobook.
Get the audio version of You Are Worth More at coachwithtw3.com. That's coachwithtw3.com. Get the first 2 chapters for free.
There's 8 buttons. I don't understand it. We're back now. So we've got a special training presented by Chris himself. So let's get into that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Miller. If you don't know me, I am an elite member here at TW3. And my good friend Terry has asked me to do a little presentation for you. And so I wanted to give you a presentation about presentations because I thought, how much fun would that be, right? Do a presentation about presentations. So that's what we're here to do tonight. We're going to go over an effective presentation, and there are several different ways to do presentations. There's sales presentations, there's information presentations, there's all sorts of presentations out there. But the concept that I want to cover is a concept that will endear people to you through your presentation. It will help you get where you want to go faster, more succinctly. And that is the story presentation. So there are some things that we're going to cover here tonight. And that is the concept of what the story presentation is. And then how it works. And it's going to work with 4 parts. There's the setup, which is talking to the heart of your audience. Then there's the pitch, which talks to the head of your audience. Then there's the request, which talks to the hands of your audience and asks them to do something. And then finally the close, which again speaks to the heart of your audience. So let's move on.
Because did you know, for example, that 90% of people believe that a strong narrative as part of a presentation is critical to them engaging with it? And also, 35% of millennials said that they won't engage with anything at all unless it has a strong story behind it. So that's something, you know. As an old guy, I find that fascinating. So what is the concept of the story presentation process? Well, I already went through a little bit of it. Told you that it goes about the heart, then the head, then the hands, and then back to the heart. Okay. So let's talk about the heart. You want to start with an engaging story to engage your audience with some heartfelt information to connect with them, right? Then after that, you're going to get into the meat of your story, right? The meat of your presentation, which is your content section. And that's when you're going to connect to their heads, right? And that's where you're going to impart a little wisdom on them, right? You know, help them identify and solve a problem that they're going to be facing, all right? And you're going to do that for free. That's important, all right? And then you're going to get to the hands of the presentation. And that's when you're going to put out a call to action. And you're going to give them a step to take in order to come a little bit toward you, okay? And then finally, you're going to go talk to their heart one more time with another touching story that's going to refer back to the original story, all right? Some small quip, something like that, to endear yourself to them one more time, endear your product or your service to them so that they will take that action that you're asking them to take, okay? So these are the concepts behind how this is done. So let's talk about the setup or the heart. You want to first tell your story in an engaging and a lighthearted way. Always be upbeat. Always be personal. Make them laugh if you can. Engage with them. Remember, the purpose here is to connect. Number 2, be personable. Relate that information directly to their needs as your audience. Remember, this is only the setup here. Our goal is not to teach them. Our goal is not to sell them. The purpose of this step is to make a connection. That's it. You want to connect to the audience. You want to engage them here. Number 3, explain how the information is going to benefit the audience. We admire those who are able to think of new ways to empower and improve our lives. So if you can show them how this information is going to do that for them, they're going to be paying attention, right? They're going to be paying attention. Introduce the solution prior to actually giving it to them. Before you get into that pitch, you're going to want to tee it up a little bit. You want to tease it a little bit. Keep them engaged. And then tell them who the information is going to benefit most. So you're going to say, hey, if you are in this situation, or if you are in that situation, this is going to really benefit you. And I'll tell you one more pro tip. You see what I did right there? What I did right there drew you in, right? It drew you in just now because I was like, hey, here's some more pro tip for you, right? And you were like, whoa, what was that? If it didn't, the next one probably will. But this is how this works. So you're engaging. You're moving forward all the time, and you're engaging them. You're keeping it upbeat. You're keeping it laughing. Anybody who knows me knows I love to laugh. This is a great group that we have here. And true story, I was in this group and didn't know where I wanted to go. And I was listening to Terry Wilson, and Terry said to me, any information could be an informational product. And it just clicked. And then I started doing well, and people said, Chris, how are you making so much money? And I said, well, I follow Terry Wilson and the advice that the man gives me. And they're like, but Chris, how do you do what you're doing? I want to do it too. And people want to jump on board and learn the things that I have learned, and it's just been a barrel of fun throughout the entire thing. And I gain this information just by being part of this group. This group is so amazing, and each and every one of you in this group is so amazing, and you've helped me all so very much. Whether you knew that you helped me or not, you did, you know. And I know you're thinking, but Chris, what if I didn't have anything to do with it? You helped me too. I promise you, you did. You know, when I go to the meetings, and sometimes I'm a fly on the wall, sometimes I'm engaged and I'm typing away to everybody or chatting with everybody, but sometimes I'm just a fly on the wall, and you don't even know I'm there. And I will pick up bits and pieces of what you all say, and it leads me in a new direction in my brain, and I start moving. And you can all do that from each other. You can all gain that from each other, because together we can go all the way to the top in this group, all the way to the top. So tell the audience who that information is going to benefit most. And basically, that's what I just did here. So that gives you a little snippet of how you set up the setup. Now that we're into this, you want to transition into your pitch, okay? Because now you've connected with your audience and you have them listening. And that's when it's time to say what you've come to say. So let's talk about the pitch, because now it's time to connect to the head. What are we going to teach them, right? Start by identifying the problem, whatever that problem happens to be, and then start discussing ways that this problem might affect different people in your audience. For example, maybe you're coming to a meeting and you're not sure if you want to get involved with TW3. It's a lot of money, after all, for a lot of people. It was for me when I started. You know, I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together when I met Gary Green. And he managed to collect a bunch of money out of me that I didn't have, because I maxed out the rest of my last credit card in order to get involved with TW3, just like some of you have done. But it paid off for me because I was open and I was listening to everything. I was a sponge, man. I was a sponge, and that was what I was going to soak it all up, and I was going to find a way to put the information I was soaking up and all of the information that I was gathering from the meetings into some sort of good use for me. Now, to me, it wasn't about selling TW3. It wasn't about selling a product. It was about connecting the dots. That's what I was here to do. You may be in the same situation, you know. You might not be. But if you were like me, then you were looking for more money because you didn't have a lot, right? You were needing answers to things that you didn't have answers to, right? 3, you might not have had any direction you really wanted to go yet, and you were still trying to figure things out. If this sounds like you, then what I'm about to tell you is going to be a big bit of help to you. Because here at TW3, I took my life from 0 to hero in a single year. Not too shabby. And you can do it too. And we're going to talk about how you do that with an effective presentation. And boom, now I've shown you how you can connect your pitch to someone's head. I got you thinking, didn't I? I got you thinking. So now here we are. You're thinking it through and you're saying, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. Right now, if you're already involved with TW3, obviously that didn't speak to you as much as those who are not yet. But the concept is there and you can relate to it. All right. Now you want to suggest something that you can do and solve that problem for free for them. And then I would have followed that up with something to do just that. After that, this is where you're going to suggest a similar offer that you can help them with another problem or a similar problem that you actually want to sell them a solution to. Now, Terry's great at doing this. He does it all the time, right? So that's where you do this, and you open that up and you start talking about it. And at that point, now you've got it all out there. You want to transition to the request. And this is the request where you're talking to their hands and you're asking them to take some sort of action, right? Maybe click a button, maybe do this, maybe pick up a phone, whatever. You're talking to their hands, right? So you want to introduce the call to action. And this is going to serve as the close for half of your audience, okay? Because they're going to take action based on the content message value that they got out of it, right? So the other thing you want to do is keep to one call to action. It may seem like a great idea to give them a bunch of options. You know, give me a call, join me on Facebook, write me an email, do all these different things. But the reality of the numbers suggests that that's actually not a good idea. You want to give them one thing to focus on, because if you don't, they get confused. Should I do this? Should I do that? And what they end up doing is nothing at all. So stick to one request and ask them then to do it. As my old sales manager once told me, he said, why spend all of your time and energy to show them the thing and then never ask them to buy it? That's what you're here to do with the request. After you get to the request, you want to follow it up with the closing heart story, okay? And the reason why you do the closing heart story is because, like I told you, 50% of your audience is going to take action based on the merit of your pitch. The other 50% is an emotional buyer who's only going to buy if they connect to you and your product or service. They will not buy unless they make that connection. So you're using the follow-up heart story to follow the close and the call to action so that you can capture that second half of your audience. And then when you get to the close, that's what it's doing. You're going to tell a story, a little heartfelt story. You're going to try to connect it back to the original story that you came in with. At that point, you've done it. Congratulations. You have successfully gone through your meeting and you've grabbed a few hearts in the process, and probably a few bucks if you do it right. I'm Chris Miller, and I wanted to thank you all for being here. What I would love, if you love this presentation or you want to know about others just like it and much more that we have, go to theleadertree.com and join us. We'd love to have you. I would love to have you. Just like here at TW3, when I was telling you about how great this group is and every single one of us, how awesome we are to help each other and to learn from each other. That's what my group at the Leader Tree is all about too. So when you come over to theleadertree.com and you sign up to be part of our group, we're all embracing just like we are here at TW3. It's a fun environment, and I hope you join us.
He can't guarantee you success, but he sure can help you eliminate the excuses made so far for not achieving them. Now back to the TW3 studio.
Oh my lord, hold on one second. Let's see. Yep, there's 8 buttons. I really don't understand it. You would think you can memorize like 8 things, but I guess not. So we're back. Let's see here. For our next training, we actually have Neil O'Reilly, former DA of New York. Is that correct? Assistant DA of New York. That's incredible. I remember when you told me about that. I got really excited for that, mostly because I thought he was gonna, charge you for bad humor or something. But I guess he's here to help out, so that's cool too. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to that training with him.
All right, TW3 family. I am in the TW3 studios with my brother from another mother. Look at him laughing. He's already chuckling it up. He can't help himself. This dude, I don't know. We're related somehow. We haven't figured it out yet. But you know how, guys, you'll meet someone and it's like instantly it's like, are they cousins or something? Are we family? Or it's just like you know the person and you've never met him. This is how I feel about this gentleman. This is Neil O'Reilly. He was a former assistant district attorney there in New York, New York. The town's so nice, they named it twice. And he's just a rock star. I can't say enough about him. To be honest with you, Reagan, I'm surprised we were even able to get him. So anyway, what are you laughing for? I'm talking you up and you're just over there chuckling. So anyway, I got him off the top of one of those tall skyscrapers up there in New York, and he's come down to earth just for a moment to talk to us little peons here in South Carolina. So Neil, how you doing?
I'm great, Terry. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. It's great to be here.
No, I'm thankful that you're here, brother. What a privilege. And in full disclosure, Neil and I are in a mastermind group together and just get to banter back and forth. And through that have developed a friendship and a kinship. And if you go over to About Terry on my website, you'll see this guy with a Bill Burr sounding to him, a Lewis Black. Has anyone heard of Terry's story? This came about because they asked me to explain what Neil said to me that had me so riled up. And so I'm telling my story. He said, it was almost like, shut up, Terry. You don't even know how to tell your own story. Here. So that's his superpower. He can hear someone's story and present it better than they can. And I think you did that for a living for a while. So it must be.
I did. I was a prosecutor up in Bronx County, New York.
Okay.
The mean streets of the boogie down.
Yeah.
I was there for about 6.5 years. So within the office, first I was in criminal court. That's where you just handle misdemeanors. That's where you learn how to handle a case. So the cases aren't that big of a deal, right?
Yeah.
But you have to treat them like they're a big deal. So you can't think that every case, so a misdemeanor sentence could be up to a year in jail, right? That's what it is. Anything up to a year in jail could be probation, it could be a fine, it could be community service, or up to a year. And you have to realize cases aren't worth a year, because if they were worth a year, they'd be a felony. So you have to know it's an important case, but you also have to treat it like it's life or death, but you have to understand we're not really going for the year here. And then I was in grand jury. So grand jury is where felonies are investigated, presented to the grand jury. Within grand jury, after about 6 months, I was one of 2 assistants chosen to be the homicide assistant, which meant any homicides that some other senior assistant didn't take vertical, meaning from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. I was one of 2 assistants who presented all the homicides to the grand jury. And then I went to trial division, which is just generalized mayhem. So generalized felonies, car cases, gun cases, assaults, robberies, attempted murder. I didn't do any murders there. I was too new. But I wanted to handle a murder, right? Because that's and you want to handle you want to know that when the biggest cases come through, you can be the guy. So I went to domestic violence and sex crimes because it's domestic violence. So unfortunately, nobody wants to kill anyone like a family member, right? That's just the truth. Most homicides, unfortunately, are domestic. So I was the first person in my class to handle a homicide. And then I was there for 2 years. And then they started this group that at first we were called the gang unit. And it was because there was a lot of gang violence, organized crime violence. We handled anything but Italians, because the Italians, everything was federal, right? Anything else, we had to just check to make sure the feds weren't handling it, or we had to figure out between the feds and us who was going to handle it. But anything in the Bronx that involved a gang or organized crime, we at least had to look at to see if we should take it. So in that unit, we, anything from Bloods, where we didn't have any Crips, Latin Kings, but then also, some of the smaller ethnic regions that had organized crime. And we built long-term cases. So my 2 big things were, there was an area called Hunts Point, and I built up within there, an 18-month investigation with the Bronx gang in the police department. And from that, we did such a great job. It was me. I was the first assistant. We had the deputy and we had the chief. The chief didn't handle any of the investigations. It was me and the deputy. We brought on another assistant. And eventually we were so productive that our unit overtook a separate unit in the DA's office and became what's now the major case unit. So we built it from nothing. It was kind of like a business because the cops didn't want to deal with us at first for various political reasons. But eventually I worked with some detectives who were great, still friends with them. So that was my work at the DA's office, basically. Within that, I did, I was in court almost every day, whether it was the grand jury. I was in the grand jury a lot, presenting cases or defendants when they would testify. You'd have to cross-examine them. And then, or if you're in, if in front of a judge or you're doing trial or a hearing, or, I did a lot of interrogations starting in domestic violence and sex crimes. I did really well interrogating defendants where the police couldn't get a confession. I was very good at getting confessions. And then we did the same thing in domestic violence, in organized crime. We had a lot of informants. So we would have people who committed a crime and we needed them to go get us information on the street. And the thing about it is, people think about, well, if you talk to the feds, you talk to the FBI, you can't lie. You can lie to the police. You could lie to a New York City prosecutor. There's nothing to stop you. So you have to it takes work to get someone to tell you the truth because they're going to lie to you and you have to show them, A, I know your lie, and B, your lie's not going to fly today. Like if you want something out of me, you're going to give me the truth. So it was a pretty good skill that my detectives and we worked on.
So run through some of those tactics because, even though this is criminal and law, it's still communication. It's still trying to find information out that the person across the table doesn't want to give up, which is a huge thing, even in business. I mean, you're trying to find out what's the real deal here.
Yeah, it's funny. At the time, I didn't realize how applicable it was to business, but it's completely applicable. It's the same exact. It is. People think the mistake people make is particularly with what we were dealing with. A lot of young kids, a lot of violence, a lot of drug dealing. So people look at that and they make certain representations like, oh, that's just a hood rat. Like they don't matter, but that's not true. They're just, the thing you learn is they're just like everyone else. There's a reason they've made those decisions, and it's generally a lack of opportunity and a lack of emotional intelligence, right?
Right.
That's why they make really terrible decisions. It's just like someone, to give it an example that people might know, it's like knowing an alcoholic. The alcoholic chooses alcohol. The kid on the street chooses drugs because that's selling drugs because that's all they know. How am I going to get out of the streets? I'm going to sell drugs.
Right.
Same exact thing. So I had certain things I did every time. So the first thing I did was I always knew the file before anyone walked in the room. I knew the file. When they would bring in the kid, I'm saying a kid.
Now break that down. What's in that file? What is it? What is the information you know?
Sometimes it's just that incident, right? But if you think about it, I said my investigation was Hunts Point. So that's the 41st precinct in the Bronx. I knew every crime that happened. I knew every person of relevance in the Bronx. I knew the basic story for after 6 months, I knew every crime for the last year because my detectives were great. They would come in, they would break it down. They had been in that area for a long time.
So you know your market.
Right. We knew exactly what we were going about.
Yeah.
So they might bring us, sometimes they would say, this just doesn't look right. Or someone would bring in something maybe from another precinct and they would say, this just doesn't look right. Can you figure something out with this person? So you just read the file, talk to the detectives. What should I know about this guy? Because the thing was, what I would say to the detectives, I don't want you guys talking unless I ask a question because it should be me and them. And if you offer too much, we're now talking across purposes. I have my story I want to learn. I'll let you know when I need to be saved. don't save me too early because I may be laying a trap. You got to let me lay the trap. And when I ask you for information, that means I need your help. But before that, please don't mess up what I'm doing. And my detectives were great about that. Sometimes we get other detectives in and they didn't want to, they couldn't stop themselves. But my detectives, we were great about it. But that's before anyone's in the room. So the next thing that happens when someone comes in is they bring in the defendant, and it's my detectives and the defendant. And what I picked up on these guys is, and part of it I picked up on accident. Again, now we're not knowing our market. Now we're knowing our adversary. No matter what happened, I would read the file in front of the person. I already knew the file. But what I wanted the person to understand is I'm going to read this file and I'm in control of this room. So I want silence. So when they would start talking, I would say, when I want you to talk, I will tell you to start talking.
Took control.
And every time they would talk, I would stop. And it was only to make the person uncomfortable, because that's what we want. We want them to be ill at ease. Now, if you're thinking in business, you don't really want the person to be ill at ease, but you want them to be as at ease as you want. So for instance, I have a friend who's always telling people like, oh, I don't really know anything. What do I know? I'm just a guy from North Carolina, right? I come from the poor part of town. What do I know? That's that person's way, Terry, of just saying, I'm going to let you know. I want you to lower your guard a little bit by me saying, I don't really know what's going on. So that person gets a little loose. Sometimes that's what I want. That's a lot of times what I want in the world. I want the person to kind of think, I don't know what's going on, because then they give me things. But in this instance where I'm dealing with an interrogation, I want them to know they only get what I give them. So the first thing is I want silence. The second thing is they would always shake their legs, because it's probably someone who eats a lot of sugar. Maybe they have a drug problem. Generally not, but they at least have a sugar problem. They're nervous, so their legs start shaking. And I would say, you got to stop with that leg. Stop shaking your leg. And the reason is now they're nervous. Where does that anxiety go?
You're balling up all that energy
right.
Yeah. You're shaking it with the lid on it.
Right. You can't do anything until I tell you you could do it. Can I have a cigarette like on TV? No cigarettes. Coke? No. Food? Nothing. You can eat when we're done. I don't want any of that. The deputy, she would let everyone smoke because that was her thing. She was a smoker, so that was how she bonded. I was the opposite. My thing was, you and I aren't bonding today.
So the classic good cop, bad cop.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why she and I didn't interrogate together a lot. Because if she was in the room, I would just sit there. Like, I might jump in once in a while, but we were just so different that I was like, I'm not at all that helpful to her.
Yeah.
I'll sit there, and if you need me to jump in, I'll jump in. But if she was in the room, she was running it. But when I was in the room, when I wouldn't call her in. And that's why I wanted control. And then I'd have the person tell me your story. Like, all right, now I'm ready. I'll put the file down. Tell me your story. And I never took notes. I never wanted to take notes. There's a couple of reasons why. One, I wanted them to just worry about what I knew. But two, from a practical standpoint, they're going to lie to me. Anything you write down, you have to turn over. I don't want to have their lies written down. So we're just going to know everything today. So they tell me the story. And the whole purpose of the story is, I don't want the police to tell me the story, because now they're not, the person is not liable for the story now. Now the police have told me the story. I want them nervous about the story. So they tell me the story, and it's always wrong. Always wrong. So look, I know the following things you've lied about. I won't tell them how I know, and I won't tell them the truth. I just tell them, I know you just lied to me. So why don't we give this another shot? Why don't you tell me again? And what would happen is I would start big. I always looked at it as like to me, it always felt like a drain where the water around is bigger, and then it goes slow. And as you get closer to the middle, we go faster and faster and faster. That's how it always felt to me. In the beginning, it was a lazy kind of conversation. But as I was bottling in on, nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. Now we're getting faster, and you could feel the tension in the room rise. Now, a lot of times what I would have to do is I would say to the person, and I still use this today. If you remember when Reagan went to Russia, the thing that he did, which freaked everyone out, was he got up and left the room. I remember reading that when I was in college, I think. You always have to be in any negotiation, you have to be prepared to walk out. If you're not prepared to walk out, you're going to lose your negotiation. So if you lie to me too much, I would say, here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave today. You're going to go to Rikers Island. I'm going to tell your attorney the problem. You're not really ready to, because what they were looking to get out of me was they wanted to get out of jail so that they could be out on the street, so that they could be getting information. But you can't do that until I think you're credible, because why would I put someone who's a liar out on the street? You just take your plea then and stop with this nonsense. Like, I'm not here to just get more information, a bad arrest. I want the truth. Like, I never cared who was guilty and who was innocent. I just wanted the guilty guy. That's it. I didn't need, even though like a lot of these guys were, what they were giving us was information about guns on the street or drugs. I didn't just need guns, because you could plant the gun. If I don't trust you, I don't need you to plant a gun on someone innocent so I get another guy in the room. Who cares? Right. I want the truth.
Right.
That's why the credibility to me was really important. I need to know I can, not that I could trust you, because I can't, but I need to know that I can manage to get the truth out of you somehow. If that's possible, we can work. Not everybody worked. So normally I'd send them back. You got to go to Rikers for a week, because you're going to realize what the jail is. Rikers is easy compared to state time. You're going to see Rikers for a week, and you're going to realize you don't want to do Rikers, so forget about state time. They come back in a week, and just like a business deal, now it's, I walked out of the room, you've now seen, can you live with this deal or not? Do you feel you really need this deal? So when they come back, that's when we say, well, now are you prepared to tell me the truth about your case? And if you're prepared to tell me the truth about your case, which I know from the eyewitnesses, I know from my detectives, if you could tell us that, we'll let you work for us. And then they'd work. And again, we didn't really bond. I was always more business, because I just felt that was my job. I never felt it was appropriate to be I was always polite and civil, but I wasn't friendly, because I'm there for the truth. And you're there because you want to work something off. If we get too friendly, it's weird to me.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was appropriate for me. I'm not judging other prosecutors who are super friendly with their informants. But as I lived, I just didn't think it was right for me. I just felt like I really need you to I really just want good information out of you. This is a business. And if we're too friendly, I might start overlooking things, and I never wanted to overlook things. I just felt the consequences were too big. I just felt I owed more to the community, is really what it was. I just felt I owed it to them to really be on the ball on these things, because this was life and death some days. So that was how we would do that. And it was a similar thing where I really learned how to interrogate people was in the grand jury, because in the grand jury, a defendant can tell their story. And all you're doing there, you don't get to sum up. You just get to ask questions. And you act as the judge, because there is no judge in the room. So you have to make sure your questions are appropriate. And if a lot of times the advantage for a defendant testifying in the grand jury is suddenly they're human, right? They're not a dehumanized person who's committed an act of violence. Now it's someone in the front of the room who's telling a story as to why they did what they did, or why they didn't do what they did. So that's where I really learned. That's where I first started thinking about interrogating people as the drain, because I would just let people talk. I was really good at just listening. I'll let you tell your whole story. I don't need to say anything yet. But what I'm going to do is, in hearing what you're saying, I'm going to point out all the facts along the way that contradict what you just said to me. And that was something which I got really good at there. I had done it My first trial ever was a civil trial. It was in small claims court, Staten Island. Right? I was worked at an admiralty and maritime firm, and they kept sending me to court because I was young. It was night court. Nobody wanted to do night court. And I so badly wanted to be on trial that they're like, do you want to go to Staten Island for small claims court? It means the claims were no more than $3,000. And I was like, yes, I'm your man. I will go. So what this case was, they were dredging in the Kilvan Cull in Staten Island. They were using dynamite to blow up areas of the canal. It's not a canal, but the waterway. And a bunch of people on Staten Island, my hometown. So that everyone's lying, right? Everyone's like, my house got damaged by the dynamite that they were using to blow up the Kilvan Cull so they could clean it. So every month I would go and we would adjourn the case for whatever reason. So one night, the partner comes into my office at 5:00 and he said, did you hire an explosives expert for this case? And the case is worth $3,000. Now, if we lost, here's the thing, politically, if we lose the first case, about 1,000 families on Staten Island are going to hear about it and say, they damaged my house too. So we couldn't lose the case. It's a big deal.
Right.
But this case was nonsense.
Right.
Did you hire an explosives expert? And I said, what? No, I haven't hired anybody. Because especially at the time, I was a very nervous young man, right? I am 25 years old. I'm just out of law school, maybe a year. I'm not hiring anything if they don't tell me. If they tell me, I'm jumping. Like, if you tell me to jump, I'm going to, how high? But if you don't tell me to jump, I am going to sit still. So I was like, no, I didn't hire anyone. He's like, well, the preeminent explosives expert in the nation is in my office right now saying your case is on tonight. You're going to trial. I grab my jacket off my door. I run downstairs. I meet the explosives expert. He tells me all about explosives, and I've never done a trial before. And I wasn't prepped for this trial. So in talking to him, what I decide is I'm going to ask you questions. If we can get away with it, and I'm not asking the right question, you're just going to answer something. You're going to say whatever explosives thing you need to say. So that goes well. But what went really well is when the plaintiff testifies, I asked him a series of questions where I got him to admit that his damages, the damages he was requesting, weren't true. And he admitted on the stand that some of what he had testified to the judge, and he specifically stated, well, that wasn't true. That never happened. And I hear some attorney behind me go, woo. That's my first ever trial. I get the plaintiff to admit he lied. I win that trial.
Right.
I get home that night. I am geeked up. I can't sleep. I'm living in Brooklyn, but I sleep at my parents' house that night, and my heart is beating a mile a minute. Court ended at 9:30. At 1:30 in the morning, my chest is thumping.
You still amped up. Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I look at the chair. That's a gray suit coat. I'm pretty certain I wore a blue suit to work yesterday. I get up, I take a shower, I get like walk of shame. I'm wearing the clothes I wore the day before, but I figure I'll go to my apartment in Brooklyn before I go to the office. I grab my pants and I'm like, I'm exhausted, but I'm like, those pants are blue. I thought I wore a blue suit. Yeah, I wore a blue suit yesterday. I walk out into the living room and it dawns on me. I did my first trial and got someone to admit that they lied on the stand. I was wearing a gray sports jacket and blue suit pants. So you can, everyone's going to tell you to look the part, and yes, look the part. But thankfully, my pants were covered by the table. Nobody really noticed that I did not match. It was a complete joke. But that's the thing about when you're, the first part about being persuasive is to know the case better than anyone.
Yeah.
Know your facts better than anyone. And I know everyone says that. People don't do it.
Sure. Just it's easily said, but putting in the hours and studying is where everybody falls short. Well, just like in business, sometimes you've got a weaker product, and in your line of work, sometimes you had a weaker argument or a weaker case. You could make a strong argument, but a weak case. So when you had a weaker case, you still felt like, your side is the more appropriate side to win. It was more likely than not you're going to be correct in this argument, but it's not as strong of a case. How do you prepare for that? What goes through your mind? What are some strategies? Because here again, it's the same way in business. Sometimes, you're selling this pen, but down the road, someone might have a little bit better pen. So you got to make an argument for this pen. And so you're in front of the judge, you're in front of the jury.
The first thing is it goes back to knowing your case better than anyone. So what I always found was people in the office would complain, I have this case, it's garbage. They're not letting me plead it out. They're not letting me plead it at the level it needs to be. I never found that. And the reason was I was prepped early and I was prepped. Well, I knew everything about the case. So any question, we had plea board. Any question they asked me at plea board, and I would say, this case is not any good. It deserves a misdemeanor plea or it deserves a probation plea. We need to get rid of this case. A lot of times people will come back and say, well, they told me I had to look for A, B, C, and D. I never left those having to look for A, B, C, and D. If I said the case was garbage, we all knew it was garbage. So they'd let me plead it out for next to nothing. So that's the first thing is you have to recognize, you have to be prepared, but you have to be prepared early. So there might be times when you're going to do a deal where, for whatever reason, maybe you have to know where you are in the world on your deal.
Right.
How, do I need to get rid of this early? Because that's something I do in a civil case. I don't want to go to trial. I want this thing to leave early. So I will tell people, and this is the truth, if I take this to trial, I'm going to win at trial. I am a great trial lawyer. But I'll get rid of it for a discount because it's better for my client today. But just so you know, I'm going to get to a point where economically it doesn't make sense for me.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Right. So if you want this early today, you can get the deal. But eventually we're gone.
But if you make me sell this, you're going to pay retail.
Right. So that's kind of what I do is I'm a little bit of a bulldog at times like that. Like I do that a lot to people.
Yeah,
I will say, yeah. So I'm prepared early. I don't wait to figure out, I don't figure out the day of that I'm sitting on I don't figure out late that I have a turd to sell.
Right.
I know early it's a turd. So I sell it as that and I get rid of it. Right. Think of it as someone who's got, they have an inventory and they know for whatever reason, I just got to unload it. Unload it early. Don't act like you got a Rolls Royce if you're selling a Kia.
Right.
That's the thing. Know your product. And once you know your product, know your price point and sell it for your price point. Don't, we used to have, going back to the DA's office, one of the things I learned early was never bluff your offer. People bluffed and they would say, oh, I'll try and get this. The moment you bluff, you're known as the guy who bluffs. I was always known as the guy. Neil doesn't bluff. Because I never did. Now, when it came time, when we went to trial, especially when I was in domestic violence and sex crimes, or if I didn't do many trials at the organized crime level. We did a couple, but if I went to trial, it's because the case was a big deal. For some reason, my unit had it. It was old, but if I'm really taking this to trial, this is a problem for you. The case that a lot of times the plea, this happened a lot in domestic violence. They'd say, get 10 years on it and we'll be okay. All right. Your plea offer on this is 10 years. And I would walk into court. It's a rape one. It's a B violent felony. The range is 5 to 25. I would walk into court and I would say to the judge, plea offer today is 15. And the defense would say, can we do 7? And I'd be like, no, I'm not doing 7. I'm doing 15. And when I win at trial, it's going to be 25. So I don't see any reason why I'm going down to 7. And what would happen, and you have to get, at this point, you have to get a feel for your defense attorney. You know exactly what they're going to do. You got to read the judge. Now I'm reading the judge. The judge is my customer. And a lot of times what the judge would say, because they want to get something out of this too, those cases when I would come in on that was always end up on 12. can you do, Mr. O'Reilly? Look, I get it. You have a good case. I agree. If Mr. O'Reilly takes us to trial, it seems like it's going to be a conviction today. You know, I'm not prejudging the case, but if it's a conviction, it's going 25. You're looking for a plea. You know, if they did a top count plea, the judge could take it out of my hands and give anything. If they take the be violent felony, our office procedure was, if they take a top count plea, the judge can give them any plea they want between 5 and 25. They didn't do that though, because it was a sex case. And the concern is if it's a rape case, I'm not calling the press, but if the press finds out the people were asking for 15 and you gave 5, that's you're potentially a headline. So judges weren't going to do that.
That's political suicide for a judge, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And they wouldn't do it because, again, I'm someone with a reputation of I haven't bluffed you. If I felt it was 15, I really felt it was
15. Right.
And the judge would say, Mr. O'Reilly, can you do 10? Now, I know the plea offers 10. I know, but I didn't feel it was the right plea. I felt that was, if you can get 10, get 10. But that wasn't what the case was worth. So I leave the room. I call someone, a friend, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting here. We're just waiting to take a plea.
They don't know who you're talking to, though.
10. You're going to give them 10? No, I'm not going to give them 10. It's not a 10 case.
Right.
Okay. What are you going to offer? I think he wants 12. I think the judge is going to say 12. So I'm going to tell him I'll do 12. And there was this one judge who, when I walked out, I was like, Judge, I can't do 10 for you. I can do 12. And he looks at me and goes, I knew it. I knew your office was going to say 12. You should take the 12. So the judge and I had figured out what he wanted to hear.
Here's a bank shot.
That's what he wanted to hear.
Right.
So I walk back. I tell my bureau chief, I got the plea. It was 12. She's like, 12? How'd you get more than 10? I'm like, 10 was the recommendation. That didn't mean I had to take it, you know. So that's, again,
it's just an opening bid. It's just a bid.
It's not even a bid. It's my bottom line.
Right.
Right. I don't make any money off of a plea, but, you know, if it was from a sales perspective.
Absolutely.
That was profit.
Absolutely.
That's extra commission in my pocket.
Chapter 1. The 4 words that changed everything. Another day, another dollar. I just clocked in and was super excited. I finally felt like an adult. For the first time in my life, I was working for someone that wasn't a family member.
Hi, I'm Haven, and Tara Wilson's my dad. And the reason why I think I like this is it teaches me not only to earn money and work when I get older, how to earn it. It also teaches me how my dad used to live in the past, what he did, what was his first job, the reason why he came into this podcast sphere. So that's why I think I like his podcast and this audiobook.
Get the audio version of You Are Worth More at coachwithtw3.com. That's coachwithtw3.com. Get the first 2 chapters for free.
And now back to our show with Terry Wilson.
It's amazing I get paid to do this.
It's 8 buttons.
It's just 8 buttons. I feel like that whole what's that outtake of Bill O'Reilly? We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
We can't do things live, apparently. It's not good for us.
So, guys, we had to cut the interview with Neil O'Reilly short just for time, but if you would like to become a free patron over at coachwithtw3.com, you can hear that entire interview in its entirety. If you thought that story you just heard was good, you'll want to hear the rest of it because it gets even better. And that's The Truth Teller with Neil O'Reilly, and you can hear the rest of my interview with him. Pay attention next week. Guess who's going to be in the studio with us next week?
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. That's right.
Nice.
Snoop Dogg.
Awesome.
Jerry Seinfeld. No, we've got the entrepreneur on fire. John Lee Dumas will be joining us next week at TW3. And he's going to be dropping some value bombs on us next week about his journey as an entrepreneur. I mean, this guy is just raking in the cash each month with a podcast that gets millions of listens every week. So it'll be fun to hear his story. Chris, thanks for being on with us tonight.
Hey, it's been a real gas, man.
You're scratching your head going, I can't believe they get paid to do this.
Everybody that comes on as like an interviewee, they're like, wait a minute, you guys are this dumb? It's like,
yeah. Actually, this is not a show.
Yeah, no, it's part of our charm.
It's part of our charm.
Hey, this is how you make it in today's world.
This is how you make it. You don't have to be the smartest in the room. You just got to have a camera.
We're just figuring it out.
We'll figure this out eventually. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.
Thank you for listening to TerryWilson3.com today. If you've decided you are worth more, then go to TerryWilson3.com now and get a free digital sample copy of the book. You are worth more. Listen, no one's going to give you what you're worth but you. So stop putting off and get started earning, enjoying, and experiencing what you are worth today. Go to TerryWilson3.com now to start your journey today. That's TerryWilson3.com.